It has been called the greatest event in WWE's 50-plus year history, and counter-arguments are rather hard to cook up. WrestleMania X7, or 17, brought the Attitude Era to a somewhat bitter end, while setting a near-unbreakable standard for show quality and excitement. Gimmick Battle Royal aside, we'll get to that in another video, 29 other individuals appeared across the evening's other 10 matches, and those are the men and women we'll be examining a little bit closer in this video. The ladder-centric carnage, the domestic melodrama, the blood, the brawls, the betrayal, these are the WWE icons that carried it out that magical night, and here's where they all ended up. Mason Ryan, Stevie Ray, Earthquake, Alundra Blaze, Norman Smiley, Zach Gowen, Bam Bam Bigelow, Ahmed Johnson, Torrey Wilson, Buff, Bagwell, Robert Gibson, Dave Taylor, Terry Taylor, and Godfather's Holmes. Dwayne Gill, Adam Bomb, Michael Hayes, Cor Von, S.A. Rios, Jim Manai, the manager from Kai and Tai, Jim Powers, Francine, Jack Swagger, Mean Gene, Fat Chick Thriller, Duke the Dumpster, Oklahoma Manta. What happened to that wrestler? Some were main eventing, which leaves me lamenting. What happened to that wrestler? Some since long forgotten, but their memories live on. William Regal. The presiding commissioner of WWE would make 2 appearances during the course of WrestleMania 17, failing to win the Intercontinental Championship in the opening match, and then watching in horror as Kamala besmirched his makeshift office. Regal has remained with the WWE ever since, becoming NXT's on-screen general manager, and later WWE's director of talent development after retiring from the ring back in 2013. Chris Jericho. At this point in his 4th reign as IC champion, Jericho downed Regal with a Lionsault in what amounted to 7 minutes of brisk, artful wrestling. He then dropped the gold 48 hours later on SmackDown to Triple H. Today at 48, Jericho, when not rocking with his fuzzy bandmates, remains an active wrestler. Y2J joined the roster of All Elite Wrestling in January 2019, signing a 3-year deal with the upstart company. Bull Buchanan. A rather underrated big man, the highly athletic Buchanan was helping to run out the clock on the once potent Right to Censor faction, which met its end not too long following WrestleMania. Buchanan retired from the ring in the fall of 2014 at the age of 46, after beginning a career with the Carroll County Sheriff's Office in his native Georgia, where he became a sheriff's deputy. The Good Father. Charles Wright's resume reads as follows: Mortal Kombat fighter come to life, militant muscle, joyful pimp, and responsible father. The Right to Censor run may not have been the zenith of Wright's career, but it did come with a WrestleMania payday. Still semi-active as a wrestler today, Goodfather is also the general manager of Cheetah's Gentlemen's Club in Las Vegas. You know what, I've been to the club in question, and I must say it's a great family day out. Val Venis. It was quite the role reversal to see pro wrestling's answer to Dirk Diggler do a complete 180 and fight on the side of unwavering restriction, but that's wrestling swerves for ya. The real-life Sean Morley is the complete opposite of that Right to Censor soldier, making very clear his libertarian ideals, advocating for smaller government and more personal freedom. Morley also advocates strongly for the legalization of cannabis, 420 blaze it, and operates the Purple Haze Lounge, a dispensary in Mesa, Arizona. Tazz. The human suplex machine may not have been enjoying the same success he'd had as ECW's Path of Rage, but he still found his way onto the WrestleMania card, albeit in brief undercard fare against Right to Censor. A year later, Tazz would join WWE's broadcast team on a full-time basis, setting the stage for his current career in radio, co-hosting Tazz and the Moose, no, not that one, on CBS Sports Radio, airing weekdays. Farouk. In the pre-Damn era, Ron Simmons was still an imposing physical force, planting hapless victims with his wicked front spinebuster in between spells of guzzling beer and playing cards inside APA's threadbare office. Now 60 years old, the former WCW champion still makes appearances at various Wrestling Legends functions and is usually visible at WWE's annual Hall of Fame ceremony. Bradshaw. His partners were former ECW and WCW world champions, and barroom brawler Bradshaw ended up completing the Big Three trifecta a few years later upon winning the WWE Championship as John Bradshaw Layfield. Few would have guessed that the clothesline doling Bradshaw would be a savvy stock market investor, parlaying his Wall Street knowledge and intuition into spots as a panelist on Fox News and Fox Business Channel broadcasts. Raven. Quite an eventful night for a man whose entire previous WrestleMania experience consisted of him managing the Quebecers. Between getting launched through a window and the golf cart shenanigans, the defending hardcore champion made his mark. Raven plays it a little safer as he nears middle age, still wrestling on occasion while hosting the Raven Effect podcast on Westwood One. Big Show. He may have been pinned after falling off the WrestleMania stage, but one could argue that that's still more dignified than missing Mania the following year whilst entertaining kids at WWF New York. Better days would be ahead for the world's largest athlete, but less so in the ring recently. Though he wrestled briefly on SmackDown in the fall of 2018, the 47-year-old Paul White has been largely inactive, though is still signed with WWE, working in an ambassador's role. Kane. Few WrestleMania images have ever been as simply comical as Kane calmly getting behind the wheel of a golf cart while a somewhat apprehensive Jim Corderas sits in the vehicle's rear. Kane won the Hardcore Championship that night, one of about 400 belts he would win in WWE. His in-ring days appear to be behind him as he focuses on political aspirations, presiding today as the mayor of Knox County, Tennessee. I say that until the next Saudi show comes up. Test. When one thinks of the roster of the early 2000s, a name like Test tends to get overlooked at times, and that's a shame. The then European champion was a highly athletic big man with a great look and could be counted on for solid performances in matches like this one. Sadly, the real-life Andrew Martin passed away in March 2009 of an oxycodone overdose, just days before his 34th birthday. Eddie Guerrero. Guerrero's most memorable WrestleMania foray came 3 years later when he successfully defended the WWE Championship in a thrilling battle against Kurt Angle. In compressed circumstances here, Guerrero and Test had a rather enjoyable European title match won by Latino Heat. The wrestling world was rocked when Guerrero passed away suddenly in November of 2005 from heart failure at just 38 years of age. Chris Benoit. Benoit's participation in WrestleMania 17 wasn't announced until 6 nights before the big card, but he would make the most of his allotted time. On a night with so much chaotic action, Benoit held up his half of one of the finer technical classics in Mania history. Unfortunately, we all know how Benoit met his end in June 2007, murdering wife Nancy and son Daniel prior to committing suicide at age 40. Kurt Angle. Angle had been subtly shedding the aloof dorkiness that had been his profile for many months and was beginning to morph into the unyielding wrestling machine that he was better suited for. The wrestling clinic with Benoit helped solidify that image. Angle would continue to forge his name as one of wrestling's most skilled performers up until his retirement match at WrestleMania 35. Ivory. The purge of right to censor was also about to claim the reigning WWE Women's Champion, though Ivory would persist onward in WWE for several more years in different roles. As for the match itself, it's fair to say that it wasn't one of X7's high points. Ivory retired from the business around 2006, after which she opened Downtown Dog, a pet boarding and grooming business in Friday Harbor, Washington. China. China reportedly didn't have much interest in wrestling other females, preferring instead to mix it up with the men of WWE. But here she was at WrestleMania 17, dispatching Ivory in less than 3 minutes to capture the women's gold. Less than 2 months later, China wrestled her final WWE match, and the belt was vacated before her contract lapsed that fall. Sadly, Joni Laura died in April 2016 at age 46 after combining alcohol with various painkillers and anxiety drugs. Vince McMahon. You have to love any storyline in which a 55-year-old business mogul openly drugs his wife into a catatonic state before getting his comeuppance by having his taters mashed with a swift corner kick by said zombie spouse. McMahon, as you would expect, hasn't strayed far away at all, still running much of WWE's day-to-day operations while appearing infrequently on TV as WWE's crooked overruler. Shane McMahon. It was the match that birthed the Van Shaneinator, the coast-to-coast dropkick that, when aided by a trash can to an evil Scrooge's face, makes for a splendid kill shot. Shane's daredevil exploits were on full display in this beautifully overbooked gem, and speaking of overbooked, Shane persists today on WWE SmackDown, where he and his shoe-tucked pant legs have been squaring off with The Miz. Bubba Ray Dudley. The burlier and brasher half of the Dudley boys wasn't able to see the finish of the TLC match. He was too busy lying motionless amid 4 broken tables in the aisleway after one of the most mental bumps you'll ever see in wrestling. Bubba still wrestles, albeit less frequently, in places like Ring of Honor and House of Hardcore, while co-hosting SiriusXM's Busted Open. Devon Dudley. The other half of the defending tag team champions didn't suffer the same hellish descent that his half-brother did, but Devon took his fair share of lumps in the TLC match, as did all 4 opponents and 3 interfering associates. Devon wrestled his last match to date in December 2016 and seems to be all but retired as an in-ring performer. Today, the longtime table procurer works backstage for WWE as a producer. Matt Hardy. Not only was Matt broken by that life-risking quadruple table plunge he took alongside Bubba Ray, but he was nearly deleted as well. Matt has been a veteran of such dangerous matches, but that has to be easily one of the scariest falls he's taken in his career. The older Hardy Boy continues life in WWE, recently re-emerging on SmackDown after a considerable hiatus. Jeff Hardy. You just knew that this match could not pass without Jeff Hardy trying to top his prior brushes with death. Between the floor swanton, the attempted walk on the ladder tops, and the spear out of the sky, this was Brother Nero at his ballsiest. Like Matt, Jeff is still an active wrestler, somehow, and has been a SmackDown fixture where, as noted, he recently reunited alongside his brother. Christian. When the dust settled on the TLC match, Christian was the one holding the belts, having been ferried up the ladder by willful ally Rhino. It marked Christian's 7th tag team title in a one-year stretch, although the last he would ever hold with his kayfabe brother. After retiring in 2014, Christian's deadpan irreverence found new life, both through WWE Network's The Edge and Christian show that totally reeks of awesomeness, as well as the E&C pod of awesomeness. Edge. It was the eventual rated-R superstar that took to the air, shooting down a swinging Jeff Hardy like a blonde-haired surface-to-air missile in a breathtaking moment. Tag Gold was the prize on this night, but singles success was in the immediate offing for Edge. A decade later, he would retire from the ring, but Edge continues to make his presence felt alongside Christian on the aforementioned shows, while raising 2 daughters alongside wife Beth Phoenix. Triple H. It's hard to tell what was more notable, getting to make his entrance to a live Motorhead performance, or inventing the punch Undertaker in the corner while blindly leaving himself open for the last ride spot that soon became standard. Triple H is not a hard man to find, since his fingerprints are all over the modern WWE product. While still occasionally wrestling, Paul Levesque serves as WWE's Executive Vice President of Talent, Live Events and Creative, while also overseeing NXT. The Undertaker. As much as our nostalgic senses love to think that WrestleMania 17 was yesterday, bear in mind that the victory over Triple H merely marked Taker's 9th win at the Grand Spectacle, still single digits. 15 more wins and a pair of sobering losses would follow, as Undertaker's connection to WWE seems more tenuous than ever. Recently, Booger Red was announced as appearing at Starrcast 2 in May, but could WrestleMania 35 be in the cards? The Rock. On the list of Rock's greatest matches of all time, it's pretty hard to top his performance in 17's main event. The bloodshed, the anguish, the struggle, the drama, the mind games, it's all there, and Rock was a huge part of the epic encounter's success. Though he may pop up occasionally on WWE events here and there, Rock firmly belongs to Hollywood now, where his filmography continues to grow, including upcoming fairs such as Hobbs & Shaw, while also hosting NBC's The Titan Games. Stone Cold Steve Austin. Austin won his 5th WWE Championship, but at what cost? Austin's stunning handshake with Vince McMahon in the post-match effectively turned out the lights on the Attitude Era, bringing one of professional wrestling's most glorious times to an unexpected conclusion. Since retiring from the ring in 2003, Austin has remained quite prolific, starring in a slew of direct-to-video action films while also hosting his own podcast, The Steve Austin Show. Thanks for watching. Let us know what you think in the comments down below. You can follow us on Twitter at Cultaholic. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Cultaholic. If you enjoy what we do here at Cultaholic, you can pledge to us on Patreon. That's patreon.com/Cultaholic. And most importantly, don't forget to hit subscribe and join us.